Palworld is great for Pokemon. I still very clearly to this day remember sitting in the back of my mom's Nissan Sentra after school, waiting for a street light to come by so that I could get just a glimpse of Pokemon Blue on my Game Boy. We didn't have a whole lot of money at the time, so I couldn't get that light up screen adapter that a bunch of the other kids had. Sometimes I had to use one of those gas station keychain, like flashlights just to even be able to see the screen. I loved Pokemon. It's largely the reason why I even got into playing RPGs, which would then make it one of the reasons why I even made this YouTube channel to begin with. So imagine my disappointment and frustration to see that most of the conversations that are surrounding Palworld are mostly just people trying to defend the game from poor arguments or baseless accusations, when instead we should be focusing on what this game actually does that's really innovative, things that it does that are just great overall, and what this means for both Pokemon and the creature collection genre going on into the future. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to talk about why this game is great, all the different things that it does, and what it means for the future of the genre and Pokemon itself. But first, a history lesson. The roots of the creature collection genre can be traced back to the late 80s and early 1990s. Games like Megami Tensei in 1987 introduced basic elements of creature collection and battling through a concept that was still in its nascent stage. However, it was the release of Pokemon Red and Green in Japan in 1996, followed by Red and Blue in the United States in 1998, that truly catapulted this genre into the limelight. Pokemon, with its very simple yet engaging formula of collecting, training, and battling with a wide variety of creatures, coupled with its mantra of gotta catch 'em all, resonated with a very broad audience. The game's integration with social features like trading and battling with friends furthered its appeal. Pokemon's impact extended far beyond just video games. It spawned a multimedia empire, including an animated TV series, movies, a trading card game, merchandise, and more. Following Pokemon's success, numerous titles tried to attempt to capture a slice of the creature collecting pie. Titles like Digimon, Monster Rancher, and more recently games like Yokai Watch and Temtem each have brought their own unique elements to the genre. To illustrate how immense the impact of Pokemon is, consider this staggering statistic. As of 2023, the Pokemon franchise has generated over $100 billion in revenue, making it the highest grossing media franchise of all time, surpassing giants like Star Wars, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and even the venerable Mario franchise. Now, the reason why I'm bringing this up is because I need to use it as an example to show just how huge Pokemon is, because it is absolutely massive. So much so that people that are removed from gaming entirely know what this franchise is. Your grandma knows, depending on how old you are, your grandma's grandma could know what Pokemon is. And that's huge. That kind of recognition means dominance, market dominance, franchise dominance. Though there's been many people that have tried to take a slice of the pie from the Pokemon franchise, many have failed. And many of them just kind of sit in obscurity for the most part. And with that kind of dominance is supreme dominance. And we all know that power corrupts. And no matter the quality of the games, television shows, movies, cards, merchandise, it all still gets purchased. And it's the old adage of, if it's not broke, don't fix it. But for the Pokemon franchise, it's if it's still selling, don't fix it. And that's where I think things can start to change, because now we're getting some opportunities to have something emerge into the market that makes people look at Pokemon in a different light. The entrance of Palworld marks a significant shift, particularly because it diverges from the traditional Pokemon formula that many other games have tried to emulate in the past and have failed. A game simply described as Pokemon with guns, but this label barely scratches the surface of what the game truly offers. It's more akin to a blend of survival games like Ark Survival or Valheim, but with an approachability that makes it far more accessible for a wider range of players. Palworld stands out as this amalgamation of various gaming elements. It combines the creature collecting and battling of Pokemon with the open world survival and crafting elements found in Ark, the exploration of Zelda Breath of the Wild or Elden Ring, where you can just look off into the distance and see something interesting and just go there. Furthermore, the game blends a ton of unique and original organic mechanics that work with the game that we've never even seen in previous Pokemon games to begin with. Many Twitter users want to wave the game off as a cheap or blatant ripoff. However, if they played the game, they would see how innovative and interesting the ideas of having pals, having passive abilities that actually affect the player and exploration, like King Paka having the ability to increase your carrying capacity, or riding Azurobe imbues the player's abilities with water damage, or how you can take one of the biggest barriers of entry for survival games and create a unique way to automate survival crafting and processing materials by giving pals specific traits and passives to make them suitable for specific tasks. It's genius. The game has been well received for its fun combat and engaging gameplay loop. The combat is incredibly well paced, where at first the skill ceiling is relatively low. However, as you progress, you find out that there are iframe dodges like in Souls-like games. You start to bring certain monsters to suit your needs depending on whether you're doing exploring, capturing, killing, or bossing. I've had friends of mine that are min-maxing their base production while others are looking for the best monsters possible, trying to breed them and give them skill fruits to make an unstoppable team. There are so many different ways to play this game and so many different things to do that you just find yourself lost for hours. Now, despite some of the criticisms that you're going to see online where they say that they have to be over-reliant on shock humor to sell the game, the numbers speak for themselves. 5 million copies in 3 days is absolutely absurd. Now, I realize that the shock humor is what's causing the game to go a little bit viral, but it's the gameplay that's keeping players in. Keep in mind that this is something that's needed to shake the pillars of the Pokemon kingdom. A simple copycat game isn't going to fill a void in a market, but something as disruptive as Palworld does. One of the other things, too, that... It's actually funny that I see how upset people are about Palworld when it actually is probably more accurate of a depiction of a Pokemon world than the actual Pokemon games are. I mean, in the manga and in the TV show, Pokemon had jobs. They helped with household tasks. They were experimented on. They were enslaved. It's funny that Palworld is actually a more authentic Pokemon world than Pokemon. I'm looking at the rise of a game like Palworld, and I can't help but see the enormous potential for innovation that they bring to the table, especially for a franchise as established as Pokemon. Historically speaking, in the gaming industry, when a pioneering game meets new competition, it sparks a wave of creativity. We've seen the same thing happen in the FPS genre, in RPGs, and more recently in BR games. Now, Pokemon has been the leader of the creature collecting genre for decades now. But with Palworld stepping into the arena with its mature themes, survival mechanics, and improved fidelity, it challenges Pokemon in a new way that nobody else ever has. This isn't just competition, this is an opportunity for Pokemon to evolve. I see this as a chance for Nintendo to try to reflect on the quality of their own product, or perhaps introduce more intricate game mechanics, maybe even branch out into new subgenres that are inspired by Palworld's approach, as there is a massive audience for buildcraft games and more mature audiences that are still hungry for experiences like Pokemon, but want something that reflects current gaming trends. The Pokemon franchise has gotten incredibly comfortable sitting on the throne that it's been sitting on, and to be honest with you, they don't have to change a thing, and they'd probably still just be fine. They probably continue to make just as much money as they always have, because that's how powerful that brand is, that's how memorable it is, it's how ingrained into society it is. But with that said, they're leaving a lot of money on the table. And Palworld is opening the floodgates, because many developers have been afraid of even trying to attempt to make a creature collecting game similar to Pokemon, or even sniffing the same kind of genre because of how dominant that franchise is. Look how long it took us to get a game like Temtem. Now, with that said, with them opening the floodgates, there's going to be a ton of developers that are going to go, well, if they can do that, then we can do this. And this is something that Pokemon fans specifically should be cheering for. They should be elated, because given all of these new games that are going to come out as a result of this game, and hopefully this game's continued success and development, you're only going to have more things to be able to compare and contrast Pokemon with, which means that you're going to get better products as a result of it, or at least you should, because, well, they should be using this as something to take an example from at the very least. Or, at the worst, you're just going to have a bunch of new games like Pokemon to play and enjoy. It's a win-win. There's no loss. Expanding the genre is another aspect that really excites me when I'm talking about a game like Palworld and their impact on the Pokemon franchise, or just the creature collecting genre as a whole. It's not just about competition, it's about growing the whole creature collection and battling genre. This growth is a ripple effect, reaching out to new players and increasing interest in this type of game. By expanding the boundaries of what a Pokemon type game can be, Palworld is indirectly affecting and benefiting Pokemon. It's like opening a door to a whole new realm of possibilities. New players might start playing Palworld, appreciate its mechanics, and then find themselves curious about playing Pokemon games, and vice versa. Or there might be some type of unique charm of Pokemon that they're going to see in a new light after experiencing something different. It's been years since I've played a Pokemon game. Mostly because my tastes have evolved over the years, I've matured, and I'm just not really interested in the kind of experience that Pokemon delivers anymore. That gap needs to be filled. There's still an audience there that wants something similar to Pokemon, but wants them to suit modern interests, not only just in quality, but just in variety of experiences. I reached out to my community here on YouTube as well as my friends just talking about Palworld, and one of the interesting things that I found is that my buddy Mark never played a Pokemon game in his entire life, absolutely enthralled with Palworld, to the point that he's probably going to give games like Temtem or Pokemon a shot in the future. I have friends of mine that have played Palworld for a day or two, found themselves nostalgically dusting off their DSs or picking up their Nintendo Switch and playing a Pokemon game again. If you look anywhere on the internet, it's Pokemon and Palworld that are trending, not just Palworld. These things are mutually beneficial, even though I realize a lot of that has to do with the controversy, or fake controversy, to be honest, but that's just my opinion. You don't have to hold me to that, even though you probably will anyway. But with that said, there's going to be a lot of people that are going to find that they're interested in a genre that they never thought they would be interested in before. And with that, Palworld is going to spark a wave of people that are going to be trying to trend chase and make games similar to theirs or similar to Pokemon, which means that there's going to be more opportunities for people to find games that suit them. And that's awesome. Seeing different takes on a similar concept can be inspiring. Game developers often learn from one another, and the Pokemon team might find new ideas and approaches that they hadn't considered before by observing some of the other games that are going to come out, or games like Palworld. Harkening back to the point I made earlier about exploring the idea of what creature collector games can be, there are a lot of different avenues that they can go down that haven't been explored yet. Many games have simply tried to just emulate Pokemon, not create something entirely unique, like Palworld. Palworld isn't just a creature collector game. It's not just a Pokemon ripoff. It's a survival craft game. The integration of different genres is a bold move that redefines what we can expect from games like Pokemon. It's not just about battling anymore. It's about surviving, crafting, building, in a world where your creatures are not just your combat partners, they're essential to your survival. You use them for all kinds of different things and even eat them. This approach expands the scope of what creature collector games can be and what they can encompass, and I find that fascinating. Saying I loved Pokemon as a kid would be a massive disservice to that child, because I lived Pokemon. I played all of the games. I watched the anime every single morning before I went to school. I participated in the National League, went to the different gym leaders around the card shops in my area to earn badges. I scammed kids out of cards because I grew up intellectually faster than most kids around me, and first edition Charizard for a Hollow Scyther. I'm going to hell for that one. But with that said, I was also that kid that dreamed of the day that I could live in a Pokemon world. And we still haven't been able to have a game that even scratches that. And it's been this many years. It's been decades now, and there hasn't been an experience that's even close to it. The experience that we gotten the closest is actually Palworld. And that's something that's really special, because that brings us closer to the actual experience many of us want from a genre like this, from a franchise like this. And that's what this kind of competition brings. So we should be celebrating this game, not hating it. And I realize that we instinctively want to defend the things that we love and have cherished and enjoyed the most in our life. However, a lot of this stuff is just unfounded. And I'm not really going to get into the specifics of a lot of that stuff. I just wish people really understood copyright law better than they do. Good Lord. The amount of people that are on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, thinking that they're copyright lawyers. You guys need to stop. Seriously, stop. But with that said, celebrate this. Enjoy the game. If you're loving the game and playing the game, drop a comment down below and tell me how much you're enjoying it right now, because I am loving Palworld, and I can't wait to see what they're going to do with the game in the future. I hope that they do continue to support it. I realize that the studio doesn't really have the best track record for that. But I would imagine with the big old bags of cash that they got, they might just be working on this game right now. So with that said, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, think about supporting the channel. My Patreon link is down below. Every bit helps. Outside of that, my friends, stay cool, stay righteous, stay safe, and I'll see you in Palworld, I guess. Peace.